Okay, so this is Chapter 2, Lesson 5, Part 2. Previously, we watched a video on Chapter 2, Lesson 5, Part 1. This is the second half of the lesson, so we're still comparing and ordering fractions, decimals, and percents. But instead of comparing and ordering just fractions, now we're going to use a different strategy to compare fractions, but we're going to turn those fractions into decimals, okay? And we might be given percents. We need to turn those into decimals as well. So let's start. So we are going to compare by, so our second strategy is going to be to compare by change everything to decimals. Okay, so the two numbers we're going to be changing, so 1 fraction and 1%, 85%, and then 9/10. We want to compare these two, okay, but we can't compare them how they are, so we got to change how they are so we can compare them. So 85%, I'm going to rewrite that here. We know how to change this to a decimal, okay, so that's what we're doing. We're changing everything to a decimal. First, we got to get it to look like a fraction. So 85%, we know percent means out of 100, so 85 out of 100. And then in our calculators, we can just do 85 divided by 100, and we're going to get our answer, which is going to be 0.85. Okay, so far 85%, we changed that to a decimal, which is 0.85. Now we're going to change 9/10 to a decimal. So if we write down 9/10, all we have to do, we don't have to change it too much. The only thing we have to do is in our calculators type in 9 divided by 10. Okay, and we're going to get our answer, 9 divided by 10. If we put it into our calculator, we should get 0.9. Alright, now that we have them both into decimals, there's just one more step. So the last step is to make sure that we have the same amount of place values in our decimals. Okay, so we see that there's 2 place values here. So our 5 is in the hundredth spot, right? But our decimal over here, we only have it in the 10th spot. So we're going to have to add one place value. Okay, so we'll add a 0 there. So that way, if we add that 0, they have the same amount of place values, and it's easier for us to compare them, okay? So now we're comparing 0.85 to 0.90. So which one's larger? Well, if we just look at it like this for a second, is 85 or is 90 larger? Well, we would say 90 is larger, right? So if we put it back into their original forms, because we always want to use their original forms when saying which is larger, we'd have 85% and 9/10. And we know that 0.90 is greater than 0.85. So we're going to use that inequality sign. Okay, so this is saying 85% is less than 9/10. And that's our answer. Okay, so we are going to learn one more type of strategy and type of problem that you're going to find in your math book. We're going to need to order from greatest to least this time. All right, so we're ordering from greatest to least. So the numbers that we're given are 2/3, 2/9, 5/6, and 11/18. Okay, so we need to compare and order these four fractions. So we're going to use a strategy of changing everything to decimals. Okay, so let's start doing that. So we have 2/3, and all we need to do is put this into our calculator, numerator divided by denominator. Okay, if you put that into your calculator, you're going to get 0.6, and the 6 is repeating, so I'm going to put that bar at the top of the 6 to tell me that the 6 keeps on repeating. I'm going to do the same thing to 2/9. Numerator divided by denominator, and I'm going to get 0.2 repeating. Okay, next one is going to be 5/6. 5 divided by 6 in our calculator, and we'll get the decimal 0.83. 0.83, and the 3 is repeating, so I'm going to remember to put a bar at the top of the 3 to tell me the 3 keeps on repeating. And the last fraction we need to change to a decimal is going to be 11/18. So in my calculator, I'm going to do 11 divided by 18, and you will get 0.61. And remember, if you are doing this on your calculator, the 1 is repeating, so we're going to put a bar at the top. Okay, so we've done most of the hard work. The only thing we need to do now is to make sure that they all have the same number of place values in their decimal, okay? So I see that this number has 1 place value, but this one here has 2 place values. So I need to change some of these, so that they have at least 2 place values. So I might need to add a 0. Okay, and the same thing with the 2 over here. I'm going to need, oh, sorry, you're actually not going to put a 0. I was thinking up here. But since the 6 is repeating, you're going to have another 6. So I'm going to cross that off. My mistake. So down here, we're going to add a place value. You're going to have another 6 here, okay, because it's repeating. Same thing I'm going to do over here. I'm going to add a 2, and remember, we are adding a 2 because the 2 is repeating. That's what the bar tells us, okay? And then we see over here that we have 2 place values, so we don't need to do anything. So now we are comparing 0.83, 0.66, 0.22, and 0.61. And I'm going to order them from greatest to least. And remember, when I'm ordering them, I need to order them with the original fractions given. Okay, so my largest fraction, because it's greatest to least, my largest decimal looks to be 0.83. And I'm going to use it in fraction form. So 5/6 is the greatest. Next, looks like 0.66 is the next largest. So I'm going to write that in its fraction form, in its original form, 2/3. The next largest is 0.61. So I'm going to write that 11/18 in fraction form. And the last one is 0.22, which is 2/9, and that is the least largest. Okay, so in your books you're going to have problems like this. you can use the strategies that we showed today. So either changing everything to a decimal, or if they're all fractions, you will need to change the denominators to be the same numbers. Okay?